If a girl was spoiled by her dad in childhood or even into adulthood, and she could do no wrong in his eyes, she's learned that's what to expect from all other men. And even if she wasn't spoiled rotten, if she's put her daddy on a pedestal, then she's going to look down on all other men. This is what happened to Paul. Let's look at his story. Paul writes, I've been watching your red flags videos. Why didn't I find them a long time ago? There were a lot of red flags, like making me feel like I owed her something for spending time with me and my family. Actually, you know what? It was nearly all of them. I never shook my head so much watching a TV screen. I'm sure lots of you can relate. Most of the red flags you highlighted in that video, well, that was her. But there were more. And I think maybe you could add a video with some of these extras for other men. You got it. By the way, if you want to share your story, if you want me to do a video, write your stories and experiences in the comments below the YouTube video on YouTube. But let's get back to Paul. So we're going to start by looking at his story. Then I'm going to share with you the number one thing you should be looking for in a woman who's emotionally damaged with good daddy issues and why you can never satisfy her, and the advice I gave to Paul for what to do next. Welcome to Just the Tip. So Paul writes, I've been in a relationship for the past 7 years, which I've recently decided to get out of. Thank you for initiating the breakup. You'll see why. 1. She constantly compared me to her ex or her girlfriend's boyfriends. When her best friend and her best friend's boyfriend went to Greece for a holiday, I got all kinds of crap about that. How I do nothing for her, how we don't go anywhere, how he's so good to her because he takes her places. It's not that I've done nothing for her. Just last year, I took her to France. And a year before, I took her to Italy. And before this whole pandemic thing, we went to Australia and Paris. But as soon as she sees one of her friends doing something, it's immediately thrown on to me. Okay, how many of you out there watching this already want to shake this woman? Yeah, raise your hand. I do too. Wait, it gets worse. Okay, he continues. It wasn't easy. Hostile reactions from her made it very difficult to know when she was going to blow up because one of her girlfriend's boyfriends was doing something she wanted to do. Plus, she's a school teacher. So when she wanted to take time off work, I couldn't, because sometimes during school holidays, I'd be traveling for work myself. She'd tell me off if it was a holiday and I had to actually work somewhere else. Right? I know. Comparing to exes happened all the time. My boyfriend did this and that. She was always comparing, and I felt like I had so much to live up to because these guys were so much better than me, at least in her mind. If that wasn't bad enough, she constantly compared me to her father, who is obviously better than me in her eyes. She has this thing with her dad. She's constantly on the phone with him. She'd say things like, my father wouldn't do that. My father wouldn't say that. Most of the time, it was about money. My father always pays. He's so generous. You're not a generous person at all. I know. If you feel for this guy, let me know, let him know in the comments. He knows this video is coming out. So this brings us to the next point. Number 3, she would always call me not generous in order to increase my efforts. I felt like I was working so hard to get her approval. She had a massive bill arrive one time and she was crying that she couldn't afford it. So I paid for her. Didn't even get a thank you. Not only did I not get a thank you, I didn't even think about asking for a thank you. And then she says this, don't think I'm saying thank you. You're not a generous person if you think that. Let us all breathe. Let us all breathe. For the pain of Paul and many others who've experienced this kind of narcissistic woman with daddy issues. He continues. So I always ended up putting my hands in my pockets to avoid an outburst or her anger or being compared to. As I write this, I think, geez, I put up with a lot. Yes, he did. Yes, you did. It's good that you ended it. He goes on to say, this really touched me. Not in that way. Come on, pervy pervs. Let's get with the story. This is a touching story, but not that kind of touching story. Okay, he goes on to say, it was really mentally draining. And I have to say, I'm a bit insecure now because of it all. Man, my heart goes out to you and anybody else who's gone through this. So he continues saying he doesn't know if he wants to date again or if he should take a break. He says, I feel like I just need to take at least a year off to get my life back together. He says he lost himself in that relationship, and that is so common. He says he lost touch with his friends. He lost touch with the things he liked doing, his hobbies. He basically lost touch with himself because he invested everything in her. Because if he didn't, he was called totally selfish. If that's not projecting, I don't know what is. Okay, so Paul's question, and then the number one thing you've got to watch for an emotionally unhealthy woman who's got good daddy issues. He asks, should I just be alone and take some time out to mentally regroup and put myself back together? My answer, yes. Yes, yes, yes. More on that in a minute. He goes on to say, I hear some people say to go out and date, get to know new people, get to know new women, to get my mind off of her. But he's not into pickup, and he's not into meeting women at bars. He's not really into dating sites. So should he get out there? Should he get into someone else to get over this last one? Now, while that might seem like a good idea, it's actually not. Because if you're still in pain, heartbreak, and it's really raw, all that's going to do is amplify your pain, because the next one who just gives it up quickly isn't going to be satisfying in the way that you think it was satisfying and intimate and close and meaningful with the woman you were actually in love with. And then you're just going to feel worse that that's what's available. So later, when you can deal, that might be a good idea. But initially, it's not a good distraction. I'll tell you what a great distraction is in just a second. And he goes on to say that dating isn't something that comes naturally to him. In his past relationships, it was always the woman who approached him because he was afraid of rejection. We've got a solution for that coming up and why that's a terrible idea. He says, this really made me want to cry. He says, so it's probably because of that, which is why he ended up in an abusive relationship with a narcissistic woman, because of who I am, he says. And I say, no, it's not because of who you are. It's because of who she is and who you think you are. And you're not being truthful with yourself. But he says, I'd rather be me than a sleazeball. And I'm like, yes, I approve this message. And he says, I'm a bit wounded from this, and I just don't want to jump out of the fire and into the frying pan. I agree. It's not the right time. Confidence is low. Let's find a solution for that. But first, the number one thing you've got to look for in a woman with unhealthy good daddy issues versus healthy good daddy issues. And I actually mentioned it right at the beginning of this video. If she was spoiled rotten as a child and could do no wrong in her daddy's eyes, then she thinks she's the prize, and no man, no matter how amazing, is going to be able to meet her unrealistically high expectations. She views her daddy with rose-colored glasses. So it's not even that he's so much better. She's got an illusion, a disillusion that he's perfect, which of course we know nobody's perfect, especially since he spoiled her. And again, if she still puts him on a pedestal, her dad, then she's going to look down on everybody else, including you, unless she's emotionally healthy and views her dad as a good man, not her Superman. If she appreciates your good qualities and celebrates them and doesn't compare you, especially your flaws, to her image of a perfect dad, that's a good sign. Watch for sincere, genuine appreciation for the good qualities you have and zero comparison of the bad qualities you have. We all have flaws to her dad or exes or girlfriends, boyfriends. A woman who's got a good dad but is actually emotionally healthy knows she's got a good dad, but she also knows he's not perfect. He's not perfect. She knows she's not perfect, and she knows you're not perfect because she knows nobody's perfect, and that's okay. What should Paul do? He should definitely focus on getting his life back together. He should not date right away. He should reach out to friends that he neglected and apologize for that neglect. He should get back into his hobbies. He should start a new hobby he's always wanted to but has been afraid to. He should focus on whatever he slacked on during his time in the relationship, focusing on the spoilt princess. He should focus on him, not women, until he feels he can be confident enough to choose wisely, to be able to throw back the throwbacks, to be able to approach women and do the filtering and selecting himself. Now, if you've been in this situation, you probably know that's a tall order. Where to start? Well, if you want to reclaim your confidence and self-esteem before you get back out in the dating market, then you definitely want to start with my video on tiny habits that make a huge difference. And if you want a more comprehensive step-by-step guide on what to do first and what to do next that's meaningful for you, then you need to get my Wake Up to Love program and do all the homework. There's a lot of homework. It's intense, it's deep, it's introspective. There's homework at home and in the real world, but it's going to be transformative if you do all the work. Because by the time you finish, you will have higher self-esteem. You will have higher self-worth. You will be on your way to selecting and filtering high-value women with confidence and ease. And best of all, you will quickly ditch the troublemakers and heartbreakers, because you will have fixed, or you'll be working on fixing, what caused you to accept that kind of behavior from narcissistic, abusive women in the first place. And then you'll wonder what you ever saw in a spoiled princess like this chick. Because nothing changes if nothing changes. Nothing changes if you don't make any changes in your life. So if you're ready to transform your love life and your life, then get my Wake Up to Love program today. Big hug to Paul. Positive comments for Paul, please. Don't trash him. He's suffered enough. Thanks for being here. God bless.